So we're going to talk about what are different ways of testing the tabs and what are the requirements that we have from EAA for tab testing or tab usability in terms of accessibility standpoint. Okay, so there are two methods that are commonly used. One is manual activation tabs and second is automatic activation tabs. So in manual, what happens is that user moves the focus across the tabs with arrow keys, and the content only changes when he presses the enter key or the space key. All right. And in the automatic activation, he does the same. He moves the focus across tabs using the arrow keys, but the content changes automatically. He doesn't have to press enter or space. So let me show you the example. So this is the official W3 org page, which talks about different tab patterns. And these are the two common tab patterns that we just talked about. And we will start with the manual activation first. So this is your manual activation example. Now, in this tab activation, if you hit tab, you're straight into the tab control, and then you hit arrow. You can see that it goes to the next tab, but doesn't activate it yet unless you press space or enter. So if I hit space, now you can see it's activated it. I go to the next one, go to the next one, and let's say I want to activate this one. I can press enter, and this becomes activated, right? So this is the manual type of activation. Now we'll see how the automatic one looks like. So here is your automatic example. So I go into the tab, then I press arrow. You can see that it automatically activates the content of the tab. Press arrow, it automatically activates, right? So these are the two types of tab activation. So if you see the correct behavior, I'm inside this tab. Now if I hit tab again, ideally it should go inside the content of the tab, the first interactive element of that content. So here, hit tab again. So now you can see it's gone to that link, Maria Theresia Leffield, which is correct, right? User doesn't have to navigate through all the controls before they land onto the content. Now if I go back to this control and hit go next, and then I activate it using the enter or space key, again I hit tab, now I'm straight into the content of that tab. And that's the ideal expected behavior. Okay. Now, what's the difference between it, like when to use which, right? Because the question becomes there are two different methods. How am I going to decide which one to use? So the main way to identify which one to use is to know how much content is there inside of each tab. So if the tab is as simple as just some text, and if you switch using arrows, it's going to be super fast because there's hardly any content there. But then in that case you go with the manual. In that case you go for the automatic one because there is not a lot of content. So the performance wise, it's not going to take much time to load. So manual activation is recommended because user has predictability and control, and nothing changes until the user says go, which avoids the surprise context changes. It has lower cognitive load. User can explore tab labels first and then choose the one they want basically. And of course, as I said, it's more performant. If the panel the content has lots of images, it's making network calls, moving focus, then you won't trigger all of that by just arrowing around. And fewer WCAG pitfalls because automatic updates, while merely moving focus, they can feel like unexpected content change. So when automatic activation can be okay, when panel updates instantly, no loading, large layout shift, like I explained, if there are like very little content inside of it, just some text, no images or videos and things like that, and the content changes are small and non-disruptive, and focus stays stable, and you've tested with the keyboard and the screen readers to ensure it feels smooth. So these are the main differences between the two. And lastly, we're going to talk about just a couple more things. First is the introduction of the home and end key for navigation. This is optional. This is not a requirement. So if you are on, let's say, any tab for that matter, and if you want to go to the last tab, you can press the end key on the keyboard. I don't have end key on my keyboard because I'm using iMac and I have a smaller keyboard. So for my replacement for the end key is function key and right arrow key. So if I hit this, it directly goes to the last tab. Now if I press function plus left arrow, it directly goes to the first one. And in automatic case, it's just going to activate that and then activate that, first and last. Okay. Then again, delete is optional. If you want to create this functionality where you press delete, it closes the tab, that you can, but again, it's optional. These are the ARIA elements and role elements. These are the attributes that you expect on a tab element. So let me show you. So this is an example. So let's go on that one by one. Element that serves as container needs to have a role of tab list. So this is my container for all the controls, and this will have a role of tab list. Each element that serves as a tab has a role tab. So each element, which are controls, basically need to have a role of tab. As you can see, it has a role of tab, right? Each element that contains content panel for a tab has a role of tab panel. So where is my content? This is my content, right? Each of these are content. So they need to have a role of tab panel as per requirement. If the tab list has a visible label, the element with the role tab list has ARIA label set to the value that it refers to the labeling element. So you have ARIA label. So in our case, we don't have that situation, so we can ignore that. In our case, we have ARIA labeled by. So you can see that we have the ARIA labeled by, and it's referencing to that particular tab. Each element with a role tab has a property of ARIA controls. So this is a role tab. Each control will have an attribute called ARIA controls, and we will give the ID of the content that it's using. So let's say this is the this particular control is for tab panel 1. So this is the ID we're going to use here to reference it. So these are basically used so that screen readers can announce their names and associate each of these controls with their panels. The active tab element has a state set ARIA selected set to true. So as you can see, this one is selected, so this has ARIA selected to true. If I change that to this one, you can see now this one has true. If I change to this one, now this one has true. Each element with role tab panel has a property ARIA labeled by. We already discussed that. If tab element has a pop-up menu, it has a property of ARIA has pop-up. So our tab panel doesn't have any pop-ups. If it did, then it will follow this. And lastly, this is about orientation, horizontal and vertical, but ours is a regular one, so we can ignore this one. Okay.